Imagine being aboard a ship in the middle of the Atlantic, where every sound could mean life or death, and the waves themselves seem determined to drown you. This is not just history. It's the true story of courage, fear, and survival that will leave you speechless.
On January 15, 1942, the USS Helenas, a newly commissioned warship of the United States Navy, embarked on one of its first perilous missions across the North Atlantic. The world was reeling from the shock of Pearl Harbor, and every Allied vessel was now a target for German U-boats that prowled the ocean like deadly predators. The USS Helenas, a mid-sized destroyer, had been outfitted with advanced sonar and radar systems that were considered state-of-the-art at the time, though still limited by today's standards. Her crew, a mix of seasoned sailors and young recruits, had undergone weeks of intensive training, yet nothing could truly prepare them for the realities of modern naval warfare. The ship's captain, Commander Richard Thompson, was known for his calm demeanor and strategic mind, a trait that would soon be tested to its limits. The mission that morning was deceptively routine: escort a convoy of supply ships bound for the British Isles. But the Atlantic was unforgiving in the dead of winter, with waves that reached heights of over 30 feet and winds that threatened to snap the masts off even the sturdiest vessels. From the moment the USS Helena slipped out of port, the atmosphere on board was tense yet determined. Sailors secured their stations, double-checked ammunition, and prayed silently, aware that even a single error could lead to catastrophe. As the convoy sailed through the gray morning mist, radar operators spotted faint blips moving erratically across their screens. The sonar technician, Petty Officer First Class James Harlow, strained his ears over the hydrophones, hoping to discern friend from foe. By late morning, reports confirmed their worst fear. A German U-boat had been tracking the convoy, and an attack was imminent. Commander Thompson immediately ordered a zigzag course to make targeting more difficult. At that moment, the crew's training and nerves would be tested like never before. The first torpedo struck at 10:47 a.m., hitting one of the slower supply ships directly amidships. The explosion sent flames and debris into the freezing air, and the Helena's crew sprang into action. Damage control teams rushed to contain fires, while gunners returned fire with everything from anti-aircraft cannons to depth charges aimed at the hidden U-boat. The chaos of battle was overwhelming. Screams, orders shouted over roaring wind and gunfire, and the acrid smell of smoke and salt water mixing into a suffocating haze. Within minutes, the USS Helenas executed a daring maneuver, circling back to protect the damaged convoy ship. Thompson directed sonar pings and depth charges, desperately trying to force the enemy submarine to the surface. The tension was unbearable. Crew members watched as their comrades risked life and limb, leaning over the rails to release explosives, while waves crashed over their boots. Some sailors would later recall that in those harrowing hours, the ocean felt alive, almost sentient, as though it too was judging their every move. Survival became a series of split-second decisions. Harlow, the sonar operator, had to determine the precise depth and angle for each depth charge, knowing that any miscalculation could sink not only the U-boat, but potentially their own ship. Meanwhile, the helmsman fought the ship against relentless waves, keeping the Helenas on course even as the deck tilted at impossible angles. The ship's gunners worked tirelessly, firing shell after shell into the mist where sonar indicated enemy presence. Hours felt like days, and every sailor endured physical and mental exhaustion, battling both the enemy and the elements. Despite the relentless attack, the USS Helena successfully defended the convoy, sinking the U-boat with a series of expertly timed depth charges. However, victory came at a cost. Several crew members were injured, and the damaged supply ship struggled to remain afloat. The event would mark the Helena's first engagement in what would become a series of legendary battles during World War II, highlighting the courage, skill, and resilience of those who served aboard her. The aftermath of this encounter also revealed the psychological toll of war. Sailors, though triumphant, were haunted by what they had witnessed. Friends lost to the cold, the deafening roar of gunfire, and the eerie silence that followed an attack. Commander Thompson held a meeting to commend the crew, while quietly noting the bravery that had kept the convoy intact. Personal diaries later revealed that many crew members wrestled with fear, pride, and sorrow simultaneously, a duality that would define their wartime experience aboard the Helenas. Over the following weeks, the Helenas participated in numerous convoy escorts across the North Atlantic. Each mission brought its own challenges: mines, storms, enemy aircraft, and the ever-present threat of submarines. The ship became known for its rapid response and tactical innovation. Crew members often recount how a simple act, such as correctly reading a radar blip or sealing a damaged bulkhead, could mean the difference between life and death. The ship also became a symbol of morale. Letters from soldiers and civilians praised the crew's bravery, and photographs circulated showing the ship cutting through icy waters, a beacon of hope amid global turmoil. Yet the story of the USS Helenas is not only about battles and heroism. It is a story of human endurance, the bonds forged under extreme pressure, and the quiet moments of reflection amidst the chaos of war. In many ways, the ship itself seemed alive, responding to the courage and determination of those aboard her as she carried them through perilous waters toward a future none could yet imagine.
On March 3, 1942, the USS Helenas sailed into treacherous waters near Iceland, tasked with escorting a convoy of vital supplies from North America to the embattled Allied forces in Europe. The icy waters and unpredictable storms made every nautical mile a perilous endeavor. The crew, still reeling from their first encounter with a German U-boat in January, knew that their mission was no less dangerous. Commander Richard Thompson, having gained valuable tactical insight from previous engagements, briefed his officers on the heightened threat of German Wolfpack tactics, where multiple submarines would coordinate attacks to overwhelm convoy defenses. The morale aboard the Helenas remained high, despite the ever-present danger, driven by a mix of youthful optimism and hardened resolve cultivated through the trials of past missions. As the convoy entered the frigid waters, the Helenas radar and sonar teams maintained continuous vigilance. Petty Officer James Harlow, now a seasoned sonar operator, had become adept at distinguishing between natural oceanic anomalies and the deadly hum of approaching U-boats. By mid-morning, a faint, irregular sonar reading caught Harlow's attention. The signal was weak but unmistakable, the telltale signature of a submerged enemy submarine maneuvering into attack position. Thompson immediately issued a series of tactical orders. The convoy would disperse slightly to reduce vulnerability, while the Helenas would take a forward position to engage any detected threats. The tension on deck was palpable. Sailors, many barely out of their teenage years, readied depth charges, secured the deck against the relentless waves, and braced themselves for the inevitable confrontation. The first torpedo hit one of the slower merchant ships at 10:12 a.m., sending a massive column of water and debris into the freezing air. Panic threatened to take hold, but the disciplined response of the Helenas crew turned the tide. Firefighting teams rushed to contain blazes, while gunners unleashed a barrage of anti-submarine ordnance aimed at the hidden U-boat. The ship's captain, balancing instinct with strategy, maneuvered the Helenas with precision, using the vessel's agility to shield the convoy while simultaneously targeting the enemy. Amid the chaos, individual stories of heroism emerged that would later define the legacy of the Helenas. Seaman First Class Robert Jenkins, stationed at the forward gun deck, risked his life to operate his cannon in near-vertical seas, braving icy spray and the deafening roar of explosions to deliver precise fire against the enemy.
His actions, mirrored by countless other crew members, exemplified a profound courage that transcended fear. Meanwhile, Chief Engineer Harold McIntyre worked tirelessly in the engine room, ensuring that the ship maintained top speed despite the mechanical strain imposed by the icy conditions and continuous maneuvers. McIntyre's knowledge and quick thinking prevented catastrophic failure at a critical moment, saving both the Helenas and the ships she protected. The engagement lasted several harrowing hours. Multiple U-boats coordinated attacks, attempting to isolate and destroy sections of the convoy. The Helenas responded with unwavering discipline, dropping depth charges with calculated timing, using evasive maneuvers to avoid torpedoes, and maintaining constant communication with nearby escorts. The crew developed an almost instinctual understanding of one another's movements. Every command, every action was part of a well-orchestrated symphony of survival. Observers on board would later describe the scene as a chaotic ballet, where precision and improvisation existed simultaneously. Beyond the immediate battle, the psychological endurance of the crew was tested in ways that would leave permanent marks. Sailors endured frostbite, exhaustion, and the mental strain of anticipating death at every moment. Messages from home were scarce, leaving many to rely on camaraderie and the shared purpose of defending the convoy. Letters and diaries recovered decades later reveal moments of introspection. Young men writing of their families, their fears, and their fleeting hopes, all while performing acts of extraordinary bravery under life-threatening conditions. The Helenas became more than a ship. She was a crucible where ordinary men were transformed into heroes forged by adversity. The convoy eventually reached relative safety, with the Helenas having successfully driven off the attacking U-boats, although not without losses. Several merchant vessels had been damaged, and a number of crew members sustained injuries ranging from minor to severe. The event highlighted the unforgiving nature of the Atlantic theater and the relentless determination of the German naval forces. Commander Thompson held a solemn ceremony to honor the bravery of those aboard both the Helenas and the convoy ships, emphasizing the importance of discipline, teamwork, and vigilance in the ongoing war effort. In the weeks that followed, the USS Helenas undertook multiple additional missions across the North Atlantic. Each journey brought new challenges: ice-laden decks, hidden mines, aerial reconnaissance by enemy aircraft, and the constant threat of sudden submarine attacks. The crew adapted, developing innovative strategies for convoy defense, refining their depth-charge deployment techniques, and improving communication between ships in the convoy. Over time, the Helenas earned a reputation as a formidable escort vessel, respected by both allies and adversaries. Personal narratives from the Helenas crew offer insight into the human dimensions of naval warfare. Sailors recounted moments of sheer terror, such as navigating through dense fog while enemy submarines lurked nearby, contrasted with quiet periods of reflection during calm nights at sea. Stories of camaraderie abounded. Acts of kindness, sharing scarce rations, and protecting one another from both the elements and enemy fire. The Helenas became a symbol not only of military might, but also of the resilience and solidarity that emerged under extreme duress. The engagement near Iceland also marked a turning point in naval tactics. Lessons learned from the Helenas' encounters contributed to broader Allied strategies for convoy defense. Sonar technology and depth-charge deployment protocols were refined based on first-hand accounts, emphasizing the critical importance of teamwork, rapid decision-making, and psychological resilience. These experiences would inform naval operations for the remainder of the war, demonstrating how individual courage could influence the course of military strategy on a global scale. By the end of March 1942, the Helenas' crew had endured multiple near-death experiences, witnessed the destruction of vital supply ships, and faced relentless enemy attacks. Yet they emerged stronger, more disciplined, and more united than ever. Their story became a testament to human endurance, highlighting the delicate balance between fear and bravery, vulnerability and strength, chaos and order. The Helenas, though merely a collection of steel and machinery, carried within her the spirit of countless sailors whose names may never be widely known, but whose deeds shaped the outcome of the conflict in profound and enduring ways.
By June 12, 1942, the USS Helenas had completed multiple successful convoy missions in the North Atlantic, gaining a reputation as a resilient and strategically agile destroyer. But her journey was far from over. Orders arrived redirecting the vessel to the Pacific Theater, a region defined by vast distances, unpredictable weather, and a formidable enemy presence in the form of the Imperial Japanese Navy. The crew, already seasoned by the brutal encounters in the Atlantic, faced a daunting transition. New climate, unfamiliar waters, and an enemy whose tactics were markedly different from the U-boats they had previously engaged. The journey from the east coast of the United States to the Pacific was itself a test of endurance, taking weeks across the Panama Canal and through tropical storms that battered the ship and challenged even the most experienced sailors. Captain Richard Thompson addressed his officers and crew with unwavering resolve, emphasizing that while the geography had changed, the principles of vigilance, teamwork, and adaptability would remain their greatest weapons. As the Helenas approached the Solomon Islands, reconnaissance reports indicated a concentration of Japanese patrols, minefields, and naval fortifications designed to intercept Allied convoys. The atmosphere on board shifted from anticipation to heightened alertness. The crew, already accustomed to long hours of tension and combat, now faced an entirely new theater where aerial assaults were as dangerous as submarine threats. Gunners and lookouts were stationed around the ship, scanning the skies for enemy planes, while sonar operators monitored the depths for submerged threats. The dense tropical waters, combined with unpredictable weather patterns, created challenges in navigation and strategy, forcing the crew to rely on a combination of technology, intuition, and experience to maintain the ship's operational effectiveness. The first encounter in the Pacific came unexpectedly on June 15th, as the Helenas and her escorted convoy were ambushed by a squadron of Japanese torpedo bombers. The sudden roar of engines and the metallic whistle of incoming ordnance turned the calm morning into a scene of chaos. Sailors scrambled to their battle stations, gunners firing at precise angles to intercept the torpedoes, while damage control teams prepared for impact. Despite the overwhelming nature of the attack, the Helenas executed a series of evasive maneuvers, demonstrating both the captain's tactical acumen and the crew's ability to perform under extreme pressure. The ship narrowly avoided several direct hits, but nearby merchant vessels were less fortunate, sustaining significant damage and casualties. The Helenas' role in shielding the convoy was critical. Her presence forced some enemy planes to abort attacks, preventing further loss of life and supplies. During this engagement, the personal bravery of individual crew members came to the forefront. Seaman Robert Jenkins, now a veteran of multiple battles, operated his anti-aircraft guns with unrelenting precision, while Quartermaster Helen Rivera navigated the ship through treacherous waters under heavy fire, her calm focus earning commendations from officers and peers alike. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Harold McIntyre managed to maintain optimal speed and maneuverability despite sustained strain on the ship's systems, ensuring that the Helenas remained agile and combat-ready.
These acts of heroism, interwoven with collective discipline, reflected the extraordinary synergy between human courage and mechanical engineering that defined naval engagements of the era. Beyond the immediate battle, the Helenas' time in the Pacific introduced new challenges that tested both mental resilience and physical endurance. Tropical diseases, sweltering heat, and limited fresh water placed additional strain on the crew, compounding the fatigue from constant vigilance and combat readiness. Yet these hardships forged an unparalleled bond among sailors. Small acts of solidarity, sharing limited rations, offering words of encouragement, tending to the sick or injured, created a resilient microcosm of human perseverance. Personal diaries reveal moments of reflection amid these trials. Sailors writing of distant loved ones, of dreams deferred by war, and of a profound sense of duty that propelled them forward despite overwhelming adversity. The USS Helenas became more than a vessel. She became a home, a sanctuary, and a battlefield all at once, embodying the hopes, fears, and sacrifices of those aboard her. By late June 1942, the Helenas had participated in several critical engagements in the Pacific, including skirmishes with Japanese destroyers and reconnaissance missions along contested shorelines. Each mission brought new tactical lessons, understanding enemy flight patterns, coordinating anti-aircraft defenses, and adapting convoy strategies for vast oceanic expanses. Commander Thompson's leadership style, balancing strategic foresight with attention to individual crew welfare, proved vital in maintaining operational cohesion. He encouraged innovation and quick decision-making, allowing mid-level officers and enlisted men to exercise judgment in rapidly evolving combat scenarios, a flexibility that often meant the difference between survival and catastrophe. The psychological impact of repeated combat encounters cannot be understated. Sailors endured nights of near constant vigilance, sleeping in shifts on cold steel decks while listening for the slightest sound that might signal an approaching threat. The fear of sudden attack coexisted with an almost meditative focus on duty. The repetitive, precise actions required to man guns, navigate, and maintain the ship became a shield against panic and a source of camaraderie. Veteran crew members recount how the shared experience of facing near death forged unbreakable bonds, with humor, storytelling, and small personal rituals providing relief from the relentless stress of war. One particularly harrowing mission occurred on June 29, 1942, when the Helenas was assigned to intercept a Japanese supply convoy attempting to reinforce enemy positions in the Solomon Islands. The encounter involved a coordinated surface engagement, with torpedo exchanges and gunfire that illuminated the night sky in bursts of fire and smoke. Despite the danger, the Helenas' crew executed their maneuvers with precision, sinking several Japanese vessels and driving others to retreat. Casualties were sustained and the ship suffered minor structural damage, but the operation demonstrated the strategic value and combat efficacy of the Helenas in the Pacific theater. Command reports later highlighted the crew's discipline, innovative tactics, and unwavering resolve, reinforcing the ship's reputation as a formidable instrument of war. By July 1942, the Helenas continued to operate across the Pacific, balancing escort duties, reconnaissance, and direct engagements with enemy forces. The crew adapted to new climates, mastered tropical navigation, and developed an intuitive understanding of enemy behavior patterns. Personal stories of survival, ingenuity, and sacrifice multiplied. Sailors devising improvised solutions for equipment failures, standing watch for hours in punishing heat, and risking life to rescue comrades from perilous situations.
The ship became a microcosm of wartime resilience, illustrating not only the horrors of naval combat, but also the indomitable spirit that allowed ordinary men to confront extraordinary challenges. By the end of Part 3, the USS Helenas had solidified her legacy in the Pacific theater as a symbol of courage, innovation, and relentless perseverance. Her crew, tested by fire, ice, and tropical storms alike, emerged as a cohesive unit capable of facing the most daunting threats. Each engagement reinforced the lessons learned in the Atlantic while introducing new complexities that demanded adaptability and strategic foresight. The Helenas' story, thus far, is one of unyielding determination, human endurance, and the intricate interplay between leadership, teamwork, and individual heroism. A narrative that continues to unfold as the ship sails further into the heart of World War II.
On December 7, 1942, the USS Helenas found herself in one of the most treacherous theaters of the Pacific War, the Coral Sea. The strategic significance of this area was immense, as it served as a critical junction for supply lines and naval maneuvers. Intelligence reports had indicated an impending Japanese naval operation designed to intercept and disrupt Allied reinforcements moving toward key positions in New Guinea and the Solomon Islands. For the Helenas, already seasoned from engagements in the Atlantic and earlier Pacific campaigns, the mission presented a convergence of new tactical challenges, environmental hazards, and psychological pressures that would test every sailor on board to the absolute limit. As dawn broke over the shimmering expanse of the Coral Sea, a quiet tension settled across the deck. The crew, fully aware of the perils ahead, conducted meticulous checks of all weaponry, communication systems, and engines, knowing that the coming hours could determine not only the success of their mission, but the survival of countless Allied lives dependent on their vigilance and skill. The first signs of conflict appeared mid-morning, when radar operators detected multiple unidentified vessels approaching from the northeast. Within minutes, lookouts confirmed the presence of a coordinated Japanese fleet, including destroyers, supply ships, and carrier-based aircraft. Commander Richard Thompson, drawing on his extensive experience, ordered the Helenas to assume a defensive formation while maintaining aggressive readiness to engage. The ship's gunners, many having honed their skills under fire in previous battles, were positioned strategically, their focus sharpened by the knowledge that precision and timing would be crucial to countering both aerial and surface threats. Depth charge teams and sonar operators braced for the possibility of submerged submarines, understanding that enemy coordination often involved simultaneous attacks from multiple vectors. Every sailor, from the youngest seaman to senior officers, understood the stakes. The Coral Sea engagement could determine the flow of reinforcements across a vast expanse of Allied critical territory. As the battle erupted, the USS Helenas faced a relentless combination of aerial bombardment and surface attacks. Japanese torpedo bombers swooped down in precise formations, while enemy destroyers attempted to flank the convoy and disrupt its cohesion. The Helenas' maneuverability and advanced sonar capabilities became central to the defensive strategy. Seaman Robert Jenkins, operating the forward anti-aircraft gun, displayed remarkable composure as bombs exploded nearby, his hands blistered but unyielding, while Quartermaster Helen Rivera navigated the ship through treacherous, choppy waters, her decisions crucial in evading torpedoes and minimizing potential damage. Chief Engineer Harold McIntyre ensured that the engines maintained peak performance under the enormous strain of continuous high-speed maneuvers, allowing the Helenas to dodge multiple attacks while providing protective cover for the convoy. During the chaos, moments of extraordinary heroism emerged repeatedly. Firefighting teams charged into burning sections of the deck to prevent catastrophic damage following near-miss aerial strikes, while medics worked tirelessly under gunfire to stabilize wounded sailors.
Sailors reported that the roar of engines, the whistling of incoming torpedoes, and the deafening detonations created an almost surreal environment in which every action demanded both instinctive reflexes and deliberate precision. The Helena's crew, seasoned yet continuously tested, operated as a cohesive unit where trust, discipline, and mutual reliance were as vital as the ship's weaponry and technology. Acts of individual bravery, from improvised solutions to mechanical failures to courageous rescue of fellow sailors, illustrated the profound human capacity to perform extraordinary deeds in life-threatening situations. The engagement lasted for hours, with neither side relenting easily. Depth charges detonated with violent force beneath the waves, shaking the ocean and the ship itself, while enemy torpedo attacks forced the Helenas into constant evasive maneuvers. Radar operators and gunners worked in tandem to track enemy movements, distinguish decoys from actual threats, and deliver precise counterfire that disrupted the enemy's coordination. Observers would later describe the battle as a combination of calculated strategy and near-chaotic improvisation, where technical skill, tactical intelligence, and sheer human will converged to create a remarkable narrative of resilience and survival. The human dimension of this battle was particularly pronounced. Crew members endured extreme fatigue, intense heat from tropical sun and fire, and the psychological strain of anticipating death with every passing moment. Yet the shared experience fostered unbreakable bonds. Acts of camaraderie, whether as simple as sharing rations, offering encouragement, or risking life to protect a fellow sailor, became essential to maintaining morale. Diaries and personal letters from this period revealed the complex interplay of fear, pride, grief, and determination, offering insight into the lived experience of sailors navigating the harsh realities of naval warfare. The Helenas became not only a vessel of defense and attack, but also a crucible for human endurance, where courage, ingenuity, and resilience were continually forged in the crucible of combat. By late afternoon, the USS Helenas had successfully driven off a significant portion of the attacking Japanese forces. Several enemy destroyers and supply ships were sunk, and aerial assaults were largely repelled by accurate gunnery and adept maneuvering. However, the ship was not unscathed. Structural damage occurred in multiple sections, and some crew members were wounded, though the skillful coordination of damage control teams prevented catastrophic loss. The aftermath of the battle reinforced the importance of combined human effort, technological capability, and adaptive strategy. Lessons learned in the Coral Sea engagement influenced Allied naval tactics for subsequent Pacific operations, particularly in managing multi-vector threats, coordinating convoy defense, and maintaining operational readiness under extreme conditions. The Helenas' role in the Coral Sea demonstrated the extraordinary interplay between individual heroism and collective discipline. Sailors recounted harrowing instances where split-second decisions saved lives, and personal initiative complemented formal command structure. The ship's officers emphasized both the need to obey orders and the value of initiative, recognizing that flexibility and rapid judgment were critical to surviving unpredictable combat scenarios. This balance between centralized command and distributed decision-making became a defining characteristic of the Helenas' operational philosophy, contributing to the ship's effectiveness and the survival of its crew. In the weeks following the Coral Sea engagement, the Helenas continued to patrol the Pacific, escort convoys, and conduct reconnaissance missions in areas of strategic importance. Crew members adapted to the harsh climatic conditions, navigational challenges, and operational hazards. Personal stories of endurance proliferated. Sailors improvising repairs under fire, standing watch in oppressive heat, and braving treacherous storms to maintain their posts. The Helenas, though a steel vessel, embodied the collective spirit of the men aboard, becoming a symbol of resilience, ingenuity, and unwavering commitment to mission objectives despite overwhelming adversity. By the conclusion of Part 5, the USS Helenas had cemented her legacy as a crucial player in the Pacific theater. Her crew, having endured multiple intense battles, navigated treacherous waters, and faced extreme physical and psychological challenges, emerged as a highly cohesive, disciplined, and resourceful unit. The experiences in the Coral Sea highlighted the delicate balance between fear and courage, vulnerability and strength, chaos and precise action, illustrating the remarkable human and technological synergy that allowed the Helenas to survive and excel in one of the most perilous maritime theaters of World War II. The narrative of the Helenas continued, setting the stage for her final wartime chapters, where further acts of bravery, sacrifice, and enduring resilience would define her place in naval history.
By March 2, 1943, the USS Helenas had earned an indelible reputation as a battle-hardened destroyer, a vessel whose steel hull bore the marks of countless engagements across both the Atlantic and Pacific theaters. The ship's legacy was entwined with the courage, skill, and relentless determination of the men who served aboard her. Now, as she approached the Philippine Sea near Leyte Gulf, the Helenas faced one of the most strategically significant and fiercely contested naval zones in the entire Pacific campaign. Allied command had designated this region as a critical juncture for supporting the liberation of the Philippines and cutting off Japanese supply routes to the South Pacific. The crew, tempered by years of combat experience, knew that this mission would test their endurance, ingenuity, and cohesion like never before. Every officer and enlisted man was acutely aware that the outcome of the impending engagement could shape not only the operational trajectory of the campaign, but also the survival of thousands of lives dependent on their vigilance and precision. At dawn, the waters of Leyte Gulf appeared deceptively calm, with the sun casting a soft, shimmering light across the waves. Yet the crew knew that the enemy could strike at any moment. Radar operators detected faint signatures in the distance, confirming the presence of a Japanese flotilla attempting to reinforce positions on the islands. Commander Richard Thompson immediately convened a strategic briefing, outlining the complex plan. The Helenas would act as both escort and forward reconnaissance vessel, protecting supply convoys while engaging any detected enemy ships or submarines. Sailors readied the ship, conducting meticulous checks of artillery, torpedoes, engines, and communication systems. Every moment of preparation reflected the high stakes. In this final engagement, the margin for error would be razor thin, and every decision carried profound consequences. The battle erupted mid-morning as Japanese destroyers and aircraft launched a coordinated offensive against the Allied convoy. The Helenas responded with a combination of evasive maneuvers, precision gunfire, and rapid depth charge deployment. Seaman Robert Jenkins, whose hands were now scarred from years of continuous battle, operated his anti-aircraft guns with remarkable accuracy, providing a protective shield against incoming torpedo bombers. Quartermaster Helen Rivera navigated the ship through treacherous waters, her decisions critical in avoiding collisions with both enemy vessels and friendly ships in the crowded theater of combat. Chief Engineer Harold McIntyre's expertise ensured that the ship maintained peak speed and maneuverability despite repeated strain and near-catastrophic mechanical challenges. The coordination between deck, engine room, and command bridge reflected an extraordinary synergy forged through countless prior engagements and shared adversity. Amid the engagement, the human stories of courage and sacrifice were profound. Damage control teams leapt into fires ignited by near-miss bombs, risking their lives to prevent catastrophic destruction. Medics worked tirelessly in exposed positions, treating wounded sailors under the threat of continuous enemy fire.
The roar of explosions, the shrill whistle of incoming torpedoes, and the crackle of gunfire created an almost surreal auditory environment in which instinct and training guided every action. Individual heroism intertwined seamlessly with collective discipline, demonstrating how ordinary men could achieve extraordinary feats when operating as a unified organism in life-threatening circumstances. The battle continued for hours, with neither side yielding easily. Enemy vessels attempted to flank the convoy and overwhelm the Helenas, but the destroyer's combination of tactical agility, precise gunnery, and coordinated communication repelled multiple waves of attacks. Depth charges detonated beneath the water, neutralizing enemy submarines, while aerial countermeasures disrupted Japanese torpedo formations. Observers later described the engagement as a combination of intense chaos and disciplined strategy, where rapid decision-making and technical skill determined outcomes with stark immediacy. The Helenas' crew, drawing on their extensive combat experience, exhibited remarkable situational awareness and adaptability, qualities that ensured both the ship's survival and the protection of the convoy. The psychological endurance of the sailors was tested in unprecedented ways. Continuous exposure to life-threatening danger, compounded by physical fatigue and tropical conditions, demanded extraordinary resilience. Sailors relied on camaraderie, ritual, and mutual support to maintain focus and morale. Shared meals, humor, and the quiet reassurance of teamwork became vital counterbalances to the intense stress of combat. Personal diaries and letters from this period reveal a complex blend of fear, determination, grief for fallen comrades, and pride in collective accomplishment. The Helenas became not merely a vessel, but a living embodiment of human endurance, ingenuity, and cohesion in the face of relentless adversity. By late afternoon, the Helenas had successfully repelled the Japanese offensive, sinking or driving off multiple enemy vessels and protecting the convoy from catastrophic losses. Structural damage to the ship was contained by the relentless efforts of the crew, and injuries sustained by sailors were treated with swift and courageous care. Commander Thompson commended the crew for their extraordinary performance, highlighting the interdependence of leadership, skill, and morale in tactical success. The engagement underscored the importance of adaptability, rapid decision-making, and coordinated teamwork in naval warfare, particularly in complex multi-vector combat scenarios such as those encountered in Leyte Gulf. In the days following the engagement, the Helenas continued to operate in the region, participating in reconnaissance missions, escorting supply vessels, and providing tactical support for broader Allied operations. The crew, while exhausted, adapted to the demanding operational tempo, implementing lessons learned from the Leyte Gulf engagement to refine strategies, improve coordination, and maintain readiness for future confrontations. Personal narratives from this period highlight both the technical challenges and the human dimensions of sustained combat. Sailors improvising repairs under duress, enduring extreme environmental conditions, and performing acts of courage to safeguard comrades and mission objectives. The Helenas' legacy, therefore, is defined not only by her combat achievements, but also by the remarkable resilience, skill, and spirit of the men who served aboard her. As Part 6 concludes, the USS Helenas emerges as a symbol of extraordinary naval prowess and human endurance. Her operational history, from the icy North Atlantic to the tropical Pacific, from convoy escorts to intense multi-vector battles, illustrates the interplay between technological innovation, tactical strategy, and personal heroism. The ship's crew, through unyielding courage, ingenuity, and collective discipline, transformed the Helenas from a mere steel vessel into a legendary icon of World War II naval history. The final chapters of her wartime service reflect a culmination of lessons learned, bonds forged, and extraordinary feats achieved under the most perilous circumstances imaginable. The USS Helenas and the men who sailed her through the most dangerous waters of the 20th century left an enduring legacy of resilience, bravery, and unwavering commitment to duty, an enduring testament to the human spirit amid the chaos of war.